Hey, how you doing? As you've probably already guessed, I'm Jaytech, aka Jimbo, as my friends call me. I'm a music producer and DJ for the Anjuna Beats and Anjuna Deep record labels in England. And I'm here tonight to impart upon you all some practical and useful information that will hopefully go some way to you writing the tracks that you're really trying to write, and hopefully it'll help you in your production process. So there are just a couple of things I want to say right at the start before we get going. The first is I would very much like to thank Pyramind for hosting me here once again. I think this institution is really cool, and until I came here for the first time, I had never seen anything like it in my whole life. I basically learned all the ropes by browsing the internet and being holed up in my bedroom as a 16-year-old and having to work it all out for myself. So I think it's really good to be able to have an environment where all these people are working together and helping each other, and you've got people showing you the way and also giving you sort of links into the industry itself. I also wanted to just say, as far as any sort of in-depth kind of technical questions go, if we can kind of save any questions towards the end. Tonight's seminar is going to be 2 hours in length. For those of you who were here when I came and spoke last time, it was 4 hours then, and I would like to take this opportunity to apologize for not giving anyone a bathroom break. I actually, managed to ramble for 4 hours straight, and I don't know where the time went. So tonight will be a little bit more concise. Pardon me. Basically, the topic and the main theme that I spoke about last time I was here was where people are going sort of awry or going off the rails with their production process, and basically the sorts of things that the kind of trouble that people are running into. So this time I'm going to expand on that a little bit, and I'm going to talk for the next 2 hours about different ways that you can sort of expand on your current production process, ways that you can audit your music, ways that you can look at what you've got and go into a little bit more detail and give it that extra 10%. So that's going to be the gist of tonight's presentation. Just before we get going, I want to show you some video from one of the gigs that I played just a little while ago in LA. This party at the Hollywood Palladium was day number 1 of a tour that spanned over 30 cities across the USA and Canada over the course of 6 weeks in June and July. I was traveling with Above and Beyond, the trance outfit, on their Group Therapy World Tour. So this is kind of indicative of the kind of scope of the parties that we're playing nowadays. So I got into doing this kind of thing as a result of going to an all-night rave party, very much like this one, when I was 16 years old, and seeing Ferry Corsten play. He was the first DJ I ever saw, and from that point on, I was hooked and wanted to basically do this with my life. So I've spent the last sort of 10 years basically analyzing this kind of thing, this kind of music, and just trying to work out what makes it tick, what makes people, really go wild, that kind of thing. And so in order to get to this point and to be able to play in front of all these people and to put on a really good show, it basically comes down to having to be really sort of unique in the studio and being able to create your own musical signature that you can then take on the road and give to the world. So there's basically 2 sides to that whole story. These are the sort of the products that I've put out in the last couple of years. There's my album at the top left there on the Anjuna Deep label. That's sort of just a compilation of original tracks that I produced. Top right there is Anjuna Deep 03. That's the latest mix compilation I've done. So that's kind of on the DJ front. Thank you. Number 4 is just starting to be in the works now, so keep your eyes peeled. Bottom left is kind of a very typical kind of release that I would put out on the Anjuna Deep label. I usually put out tracks, sort of 2 originals side by side, and those kind of releases are more aimed for DJs and club play and stuff like that, which obviously affects the way that you write things. Bottom right is Jaytech Music, my lovely radio show and podcast. About once a month, I mix together an hour of tunes and get a guest mixer in to do an hour mix, and I get on the microphone and I introduce the show and basically syndicate it throughout online radio and FM radio around the world, as well as a podcast through iTunes and SoundCloud. So that's just some of the stuff that I do. My style of music is melodic house music, and the general sort of thing I'm going for with my tracks is to be a bit more on the intelligent side. I want it to be a little bit deeper, and for me that's what the Anjuna Deep sound is all about, because I think dance music at the EDM scene in the last sort of decade, it has become sort of very watered down, and it's often very, very simplistic music, which is great and fun to dance to, but I like there to be a deeper side to it as well. I'm also a label A&R, which is artist and repertoire, which means basically we go through up to 200 tracks a week at the label, and basically, yeah, filter things down and go through all these tracks and basically find what's going to be our release schedule for the next 6 months or a year or something like that. So yeah, it's a lot of work. Not only do I have to sort of scrutinize my own work as much as I can and get as much feedback and as many perspectives as I can, but I've also got to analyze a lot of other people's tracks as well. So in the process, I've got to the point where I can listen to a track now and I can sort of pretty quickly hear ways that it could be improved. And so, having just naturally had so much experience in that kind of field in my day-to-day life, I thought it would be kind of cool to just put together a little presentation tonight about just ways that you can improve your music and get it noticed a bit more and things like that. So, yeah. In addition to all these, I've got album number 2 underway, which is getting pretty close to completion now. It's going to have more vocal stuff than I've ever worked on before, which is a new frontier for me because growing up, I never really did much vocal recording, and I didn't really want to have any vocal tracks out there until I got to the point where I could do a good job of it. So that's been a long road as well. So I'm going to play you some stuff that I'm working on at the moment, just so you can hear where I'm at. Some vocal stuff. And some more clubby stuff. Could I just get a little bit more volume on the monitoring as well? Thanks. Some chunky festival prog coming out later this year. And here's some stuff that I'm really digging at the moment from other producers. Soundprank from Canada, new signing. Pretty much everywhere I've played this tune, everyone's just heads exploded. I don't know how you pronounce his name, but Levent Martin, Sunny Lax. And of course, Anjuna Beats wizard Matt Zoe. This remix is just done of Above and Beyond for their new album. So that's kind of just indicative of the Anjuna Beats, Anjuna Deep kind of sound. We're just always going for melodic house music or trance music, as the case may be. And yeah, just basically we want to tell a bit of a story with it and for it to be something a bit unique and a bit different to what a lot of people are playing nowadays. So yeah. So yeah, just to sort of go over what we're going to cover tonight, I'm going to go through a few different approaches that I've sort of discovered to music writing in the last little while that's helped me write what I want to write. I found after I finished my first album, having sent this big message to the world and said what I want to say, going from there and working out what I wanted to write next was actually quite difficult. And so yeah, in the process, I experimented with lots of different ways of writing music, and I came up with a few cool little recipes, which I will share with you tonight. Yeah, I'd like to sort of show you how your approach to music affects like the outcome, and basically, yeah, analyzing your track and improving it. So I'm going to walk you through a few techniques to kind of audit your own sound and work out where you can make things better. Bringing sonic quality and an identity to your music, and that's basically just making your music sound as much like you as you can, and putting some sort of color and individuality into it. And towards the end, I'm also going to just give a few pointers on, getting your music out there, sending it to labels, marketing yourself, branding yourself, just as I did at the last seminar. So yeah, a few thoughts about EDM, as it's called here in the US. I've got to say, just having toured, for the last few months here, the way the scene is now is completely different to the last time I was in the States doing this seminar. I think it was '09 I came and spoke, and since then, yeah, there's been a massive fusion of EDM with pop music, and it's kind of all over the radio now. It's dance is becoming basically the basis for a lot of the popular music that people listen to nowadays, which I think is actually very, very cool, because it's dragging a lot of people over to this side of the field. A lot of people are listening to this kind of very, very basic, simple poppy house music, and once they've had their fill of that, then they're looking for more, and they're looking for something a little bit more deeper and a little bit more intelligent. So yeah, I think, if you ask people anywhere around the world, they'll say that, the USA is where it's happening right now. It's where it's all picking up. You've got these massive festivals like EDC and, Electric Zoo in New York, and well, basically there's just something happening quite a bit. I'm going to be playing at the Audiotistic Festival this weekend in San Bernardino and Las Vegas, which should be cool. Yeah, so I think it was David Guetta who said, rather than being credible, he'd prefer to be incredible. And I think that actually is quite a poignant sort of description of where music's going. It's becoming sort of quite crazy, and because sort of a lot of the traditional approaches to music have been filled, people are now sort of branching out a little bit, and the music's getting a bit more ridiculous, a bit more outrageous and more remarkable, And for me, that comes down to attracting attention. I think attention plays a much bigger part in music and the music business nowadays than it used to. So if you sort of think about, the tracks that are making it really big right now, they're usually remarkable in such a way that a lot of people are going to go check it out on YouTube, or, it's going to be a bit of a kind of viral phenomenon as well. So that, I think, has affected the way that we listen to music and the way that we track down music as well. I think also since the last time I came and spoke, I've spent a lot more time in Australia with all of my friends who have moved on from progressive house and completely onto dubstep and glitch and that kind of thing. So whenever I go back to Australia, I hear a lot of ridiculous wobbly music, which I think is great, and the production values of some of this stuff is absolutely through the roof, You just listen to some, especially I think in the fields of like dubstep and mid-tempo and all those kinds of things, all that grimy, wobbly kind of music, there's like some real exciting stuff happening there sonically. So yeah, I think overall the quality of production might be going down a little bit because there are so many new producers onto the scene, and most of the people that I've spoken to have attributed this to basically people not having a good enough understanding of the tools in their studio. People are now sort of, they've got access to so many different kinds of tools and synthesizers and effects and things like this, and not really such a good understanding of how to use them. And so yeah, as you look on Beatport, you see 3,000 tracks a week coming out or whatever, and sometimes only 1% of those will be up to a standard that I would call releasable, or up to a standard that I would say is 100% finished. So yeah, that's sort of what I want to talk to people about tonight is, just because of the fact that we listen to hundreds of tracks a week and we walk away with one or two that we actually want to use, it means that if you want to have your music recognized in this day and age, it needs to be 100% finished. It needs to be 100% of what you are capable of, because stopping short of the mark just basically cancels out the attempt in the first place. So yeah. Yeah, there's a big boom for social media, that kind of thing. Basically Facebook and all that kind of stuff is very much taking over the market, which is kind of a double-edged sword. It's kind of a bit strange in one way, but it's also breaking new ground for ways of distributing your music. So I'm going to go through that a bit later as well. So yeah, just to recap, yeah, an innovative approach to composition. Basically, I want people to kind of move away from the idea of just having to come up with like a kick drum and then come up with a snare and then come up with a hi-hat until you have a completed track, you know. Yeah, maximizing the use of tools at our disposal. I'm going to show you basically some more in-depth stuff on incidental effects and melodies, ostinatos and atmosphere, which I'll explain a bit more in detail a little bit later. Basically, ways that you can use these musical tools to just bring a bit more individuality to your music. Yeah, and just as far as yeah, good attention, right? Okay, yeah, and that's basically, you know, as I was saying before, you know, this attention is now such an important commodity in music. But I think it's better to have the kind of attention where people are noticing you because of the quality of your work. You know, if you can be remarkable and attract people's attention, have something that's clear and simple and catchy, as well as just being really, really valid and good. I think that's the kind of thing that's going to go down in history. So yeah, that's the gist of it. I'm going to split it into 6 parts. Clarify, simplify, add character, sonic treatment, mix down in comparison, and auditing and improving, which sounds like a bit of a mouthful, but yeah, I think once we break it down a little bit, it'll make a bit more sense. So